If you're watching this, it means something stayed with you from the last video. Not just the words, but the feeling, that small moment where something didn't feel normal, where something felt off, and maybe you couldn't fully explain it, but you came back because a part of you is curious. A part of you wants to understand, and that's where things get interesting, because curiosity is not random. What if the questions in your mind were never truly yours? What if they were placed there long before this moment? Think about this. Why do some ideas feel familiar, even when you've never heard them before? Why do certain thoughts feel like memories? Not imagination, memories. Some people call it intuition, others call it coincidence. But there are those who believe it's something else, something deeper, reincarnation. The idea that consciousness doesn't end, it continues. Not as the same person, but as the same awareness. Different life, different identity, same observer. And then there's karma, not as a punishment, but as a pattern, a system of cause and effect that extends beyond what you can see. Every action, every decision, creating ripples, not just in the world, but within consciousness itself. But let's step back. Let's stay logical. There is no scientific proof that you lived before, no direct evidence of past lives. But there is also no clear explanation for consciousness itself. Why are you aware? Why are you, not your name, not your body, but the thing behind it, the observer? Science can describe the brain, neurons, signals, chemical reactions, but it cannot fully explain why those processes create awareness. And that leaves a gap, a question, a space where possibilities exist. And in that space, ideas like reincarnation appear, not as facts, but as attempts to explain something deeper, something we don't yet understand. So maybe this isn't about believing or rejecting. Maybe it's about questioning, because whether it's algorithms, patterns, or something beyond this life, one thing stays the same. You are experiencing this right now. And the question is this your first time, or just the first time you remember? And if something inside you feels like it already knows, then maybe you're closer to the answer than you think. Because if you think about it, the idea of a first time is strange. You don't remember the beginning of your own life. You don't remember becoming aware. One moment, there was nothing, and then suddenly, you were here, seeing, hearing, thinking, but never questioning how it started. And that's where it gets uncomfortable, because if you don't remember the beginning, how can you be sure this is the first time? What if awareness doesn't begin? It simply appears, again and again, in different forms, different lives, different realities, but always the same silent observer, watching, experiencing, forgetting, and starting over, not as a punishment, not as a reward, but as a process, a cycle that doesn't need belief to exist, only experience. And maybe that's why certain things feel familiar, not because you learned them, but because you've been here before. Not in this exact life, but in this exact state of awareness. And if that's true, then what you call yourself is just the current version, a temporary identity, a role, being played by something much deeper, something that doesn't have a name, doesn't have a face, but is always there, behind your thoughts, behind your emotions, behind every moment of realization, the observer. And maybe this is why you felt something in the last video, not because it was new, but because it wasn't, because something in you recognized it, and recognition doesn't come from nowhere. So now the question changes. It's not, is reincarnation real? It's not, does karma exist? The real question is, why do these ideas feel so close to the truth? And why are you still watching? What is it that you're trying to remember? Because whatever it is, it's not outside of you. It never was. It's something within, something silent, something patient, something that has been waiting for you to notice it. And right now, you just did. And maybe that's the part you keep avoiding, because noticing it changes everything. Not your life, not your routine, but the way you see them. Because once you realize that you are not just your thoughts, you start to see the distance between you and everything you believed you were. And in that distance, something strange appears. Silence. Not the absence of sound, but the absence of identity. No labels, no story, no past, just awareness, watching. And that awareness doesn't feel new. It feels familiar, like something you've always known, but never fully looked at. And maybe that's the key. Not searching for answers outside, not trying to prove anything, but simply observing, watching your thoughts as if they don't belong to you, watching your reactions as if they were patterns. Because maybe that's exactly what they are, patterns, repeating, shaping your reality without asking for permission. And if patterns can repeat, then so can experience. Different context, same awareness, different life, same observer. And suddenly, the idea of you starts to change. It's no longer fixed, no longer solid. It becomes something fluid, something that can shift depending on what you identify with. Your name, your past, your memories, all temporary, all replaceable, but the awareness behind them remains, always there, always watching. And maybe that's what people have been trying to describe for centuries, not as religion, not as belief, but as something they couldn't fully explain, something they could only point toward, using words like soul, consciousness, energy, different names, same direction, and still no final answer. Because maybe there isn't one. Maybe the point was never to find the answer, but to keep asking the question, to stay aware, to notice, to observe. Because the moment you stop observing, you fall back into the pattern, back into automatic, back into forgetting. And maybe that's what most people call living. But what if living is actually remembering? Not facts, not events, but something deeper, something beyond memory, something that doesn't belong to time. And if that's true, then maybe this moment right now is not random. Maybe this isn't just another video. Maybe this is one of those moments where something shifts, where something clicks, where something wakes up. And if you feel even a small part of that, then you already know this isn't the beginning. And it's definitely not the end. It's just another moment of remembering. And now, before you leave, just take a second. Don't scroll. Don't think about anything else. Just notice that you're aware, not your thoughts, not your name, not your past. Just this simple awareness, right here, right now, because that is the only thing that never changes. Not your life, not your body, not your identity. Only this, the one that is watching, the one that has always been here. And maybe that's what you've been trying to find all along. Not something new, but something that was never lost. So the next time you feel distracted, or lost, or uncertain, remember this moment. Because this moment is more real than anything you've been chasing. And if you made it this far, type in the comments, I noticed. Because this time, you didn't just watch, you became aware.